It started as a blip, barely a flicker on the outer surveillance nets of Sector 17, a distant signal, uncoded, unclaimed, unknown. The Empire's protocol was clear. Unknown meant irrelevant. The Grand Empire stretched across 2 zeros. 0 systems ruled by precision, power, and absolute control. They had enemies, yet, but none were unknown. Everything had a file. Every threat had a classification. Every rebel had a lineage. That's how empires sleep at night, believing they know everything. Until this, the fleet dispatched to investigate the signal wasn't even worried. It was standard procedure. A patrol group of 6 cruisers, 2 destroyers, and a long-range carrier. Nothing worth waking up the admirals, for the officers joked about it over their pre-jump briefings, calling it a ghost blip, a space anomaly, maybe some pirate rig cobbled together in the asteroid belts. They didn't come back. The first real panic sparked when communications went dead within 42 minutes of dropping the carrier's black box transmission was cut mid-sentence. No alarms, no calls for reinforcements, just static. Then came the recovery drone. It drifted in 2 days later, half-melted, battered by what looked like kinetic slugs, not plasma kinetic. Ancient tech, primitive, yes, but the holes it tore through star steel armor didn't care about opinions. The footage it brought back, one of the admirals watched it in silence, jaw tightening with each second. A cruiser exploded from within, imploded like something had drilled into its core from inside. Another had its engines ripped out, still glowing, flung across space like a thrown spear. The carrier's command deck was breached by something invisible, something fast, something brutal. There was no voice, no warning, just chaos. And then the message came, handwritten, scanned, human letters burned into the hull of one of the floating wrecks. We are not in your records because your records are lies. Panic doesn't come easily to empires. It starts with whispers. It crawls. One fleet lost, maybe a freak event, maybe sabotage. But then came another signal, closer. This time no code, no registration, just the same raw signature. This time they sent a task force, 20 ships armed to the teeth with clearance to annihilate, and again silence. Except for the wreckage, this time with a different message. We remember Earth, do you? The Empire didn't. Not really. Earth was a ghost world, a page ripped out of the galactic ledger. Officially dead for over 200 cycles, buried under its own wars and forgotten. The Empire rose after the collapse. They said no one survived. They were wrong. Far out in the unregistered sectors in the black where maps end, something crawled out of extinction, something that didn't care about empire, hierarchy, or recorded history. One man stood on the bridge of a stolen warship, black his face half-shadowed under flickering lights. His eyes scanned what was left of the Imperial task force. Flames danced in the void. Bodies floated, their armor still gleaming with rank and insignia. He lit cigarette, real tobacco, smuggled from an old vault they found on a mining moon. They thought we were gone. He muttered to no one in particular. They wrote us off like a broken species. He stepped forward, gripping the rail. Now they'll remember our name, one fleet at a time. The deck of the stolen cruiser trembled beneath his boots as the auto-repair systems kicked in, trying to seal breaches left by the last skirmish. Sparks hissed from torn panels. Blood, some Imperial, some not, was still smeared across the corridor walls. The man didn't care. He wasn't in this for hygiene or honor. He was in it because Earth deserved a reckoning, and someone had to give it to them. His name was not in their databases. No Imperial war file. No registered genetic code, no planetary citizenship. He was born beneath the crust of Titan Station, 2 centuries after Earth's extinction, raised by broken men and tougher women who scraped survival out of garbage tech and forgotten AI systems. He never had a last name. Names were a luxury where he came from. They called him Commander now, not out of formality, but fear. He'd earned the title in blood. Behind him, the command crew worked in silence. Each one a ghost of their own ruined past, exiles, pirates, refugees. Every one of them had been ground beneath the Empire's boots in one form or another. Now they fought back, not for glory, but for revenge. Casualty reports, he said flatly, not turning around. Juno, the ship's tactical lead, spoke up. 2 dead, 4 injured. We lost a port cannon, but propulsion stable shields took a beating, but they'll hold Imperial side. She allowed herself a smirk. All 20 ships disabled, 4 exploded. We have 13 confirmed dead officers pulled from the wreckage, 1 captain left alive barely. He nodded slowly, then turned. Bring him here. She didn't ask why. No one on this crew asked any more. Minutes later, 2 crewmen dragged in the officer. His once shining armor was cracked, and scorched a large gash across his chest plate. Blood leaked from his lip, and one eye was swollen shut, but even then the arrogance hadn't left his face. That was the thing about Imperial officers, they believed in their superiority so deeply it survived even death. Sentences, "You're not registered?" The officer rasped, spitting blood onto the deck. "Not in our archives, not in the system." The commander stepped forward, knelt, and looked him dead in the eyes. "Neither is justice." He took the officer's helmet and smashed it on the floor. Shards scattered. "What's your name?" "Admiral Karras," the man said, puffing his chest like it mattered here. "3rd Dominion Fleet Class 5. Executive." The commander nodded. "Good. Now you can carry a message back." "I'm not your courier, no," he said coldly, drawing a knife. "But your body will be." Without another word, he stood and drove the blade straight into the officer's thigh, deep. "None. Lethal," the man screamed. The crew didn't blink. Some even looked bored. "We'll carve your fleet's insignia into your skin," the commander said quietly, "and beneath it we'll add a word in a dead language. Then we'll leave you in a drifting pod near the next Empire checkpoint. They'll find you. They'll read it." "What word?" the admiral spat through clenched teeth. The commander leaned in close. "Earth." In the polished halls of the Imperial cores, Council panic was dressed in protocol and bureaucracy. 12 high-ranking officers sat in silence around a glistening obsidian table. Holograms hovered above them. "Tactical data wreckage scans footage they'd sworn to never release to the public. This can't be real," murmured High Strategist Vaughn. "The Empire wiped out all Earth remnants centuries ago. It was cleansed, archived, erased." "We were wrong," said another. "Something survived, and it hates us." Grand Admiral Strauss clenched his fists behind his back. He had watched the footage himself of Carthus' fleet being ripped apart like paper. Of the message seared onto the survivor's chest. Earth, one word, had become a ghost that haunted their entire military doctrine. "And they're using hybrid tech," another general added. "Ancient Earth projectile weaponry fused with high-density plasma manipulation, tactical AI systems not in any known coding sequence. It's not just survival, it's evolution, ruthless, decentralized, and unpredictable. Then we need to retaliate." Strauss barked. "Level every unregistered system, wipe out every trace." A thin smile curled on the youngest admiral's face. "That's the thing we don't know where they are." The silence that followed was colder than space back on the stolen warship. The commander stared at an old photo, the last one ever taken of Earth before it was declared uninhabitable. It was grainy satellite image, barely clear, but he could make out the continents. He didn't know where on that ball of dirt his bloodline came from. Didn't matter. Earth was memory. Earth was fire. Earth was the one truth the Empire couldn't scrub from the stars. "Set course for Nexus 7, he said without looking up. "There's an outpost. They're low tier, mostly smugglers and mercenaries, but it's got eyes on Empire routes." "You think they'll talk?" Juno asked. "They will," he said, "or they'll burn." The jump drive screamed to life, and the ship slipped into slip space like a phantom, untracked, unmarked, and unafraid. Nexus 7 was a floating sewer pipe of corruption and shadows. The Empire tolerated its existence because it kept criminals busy fighting each other instead of destabilizing real systems. But today the war came knocking. The commander didn't even try to hide. He walked into the cantina in full gear, black bat armor, twin sidearms, boots still stained with Imperial blood. The music stopped, conversations died. Every merc thief, half-baked bounty hunter knew one thing, that man was not Empire. He sat at the bar, tapped the metal surface. Twice the bartender, a withered ex-Imperial medic, turned alcoholic, froze. "I need records," the commander said calmly. "Ship routes, supply lines, cargo manifests." The bartender shook his head. "I don't sell that anymore. Empire monitors everything now. I've got $1,000. Kid." The commander laid something on the bar. It was a fragment of Carthus badge, still slick with blood. "Start selling again within hours." The commander had what he needed: maps of soft target routes, information on supply convoys, schedules of communication satellites. He didn't need to take out fleets to win. He just needed to make the Empire bleed one artery at a time. Juno joined him in a dark corner of the bar. "You really think one ship and a bunch of outlaws can break the Empire?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pulled a small ancient recording device from his belt. He clicked it on. A voice crackled out, old, broken, tired. If anyone finds this, if anyone survives, remember us. We were Earth and we mattered. He turned it off, looked at her. I don't need to win. I just need to make sure they never sleep again. In following weeks, the galaxy changed, convoys disappeared, communication satellites went dark, outposts vanished without a trace. The Empire's proud grip began to loosen, not by armies, but by fear. Every time a ship went missing, every time a survivor was found with the word Earth carved into holes or bodies, the legend grew. They started calling him the ghost of Earth, the man who wasn't in their records, the one mistake they couldn't erase. But he wasn't done, not yet, because buried deep within the Empire's core was the archive, a vault of knowledge, secrets, and history, wiped clean from the public record. If he could reach it, he could broadcast the truth to the galaxy, show them what the Empire had done, what it had covered up, the purges, the sterilizations, the extermination of entire bloodlines, and most of all, what they did to Earth. He stood on the bridge of his warship, watching the stars stretch and bend as they prepared to jump again. Target locked. He asked. Juno's voice came steady. Locked and primed. Next jump will take us straight into archive perimeter range. If we make it through, we'll make it. He tightened his gloves, stared ahead. They think they can bury us, but they forgot the one thing Earth taught its sons. He turned to his crew, voice rising with quiet fury. You bury a man, you better make sure he doesn't dig back up with fire in his veins. The stars pulsed, the ship jumped, and war truly began. Silence hit the ship like a guillotine. Slipped space, dropped away, and revealed the outer perimeter of the Empire's archive defense zone. Walls up, sensor buoys, automated gun platforms, and patrol flares slicing through darkness. It was cold, sterile, lifeless, built to repel any intruder with ruthless efficiency. He watched the monitor lights, shifted red beams, trenched outward, detecting mass signatures, idle intrusion field. Juno said they haven't fired yet, but they're watching. Good, he answered, jaw flexing. They're going to see us, but they won't know what hit them. He flipped open a data pad. We're carrying 3 decoy drones loaded with EMP charges. One will draw fire, the other 2 get us. In the crew scratched notes, nodded and moved. They weren't scared, not anymore. He walked to the viewport beneath them. The archive station was a fortress, a cigarette-shaped cylinder, 2 km long with docking arms and combes bristling outward. The station's surface was as smooth as polished stone, painted the dull gray of bureaucracy and control. This station, he murmured, holds every secret the Empire buried, every file on Earth, every playbook for eradication. We break in. We broadcast it across every comm channel in the sector. Let them judge us. Let other systems wake up. Juno put a hand on his arm. You mean to wake them up or burn them? He looked at her unflinching. Sometimes you need fire in both hearts. In the skies around the archive, the first drone launched a sleek sphere with fins igniting an exhaust flurry. Before rocketing ahead, Imperial turrets screamed to life, gunning it down in seconds. No matter, that drone gave away its location. More followed, programmed to veer off in opposite directions, heading straight for 2 separate firing arrays. Deploy. He said. The crew released them. Then the cruiser slipped off courses, dropping into the debris shadow behind a defunct satellite cluster. A volley of energy bolts chased the decoys, bright hot, but harmless. The rest of the station's defense grid aimed at ghost signatures, and for a moment the station's systems were blind. Now he hissed. He hit a sequence, and the ship's cloak engaged a stolen black market tech module that painted them invisible beyond 300 m. The entire crew held breath. A white-knuckled minute later, the ship glided into the station's docking corridor without alert. No warning alarms, no broadcasted red lights, nothing but silence. They flew in, lights off, systems muted, shields locked at minimal output. The station loomed above them in a suspend of halls and doors and corridors, a labyrinth built to repulse intruders, not hold them. Empire tech, efficient and unforgiving. They disembarked, each of them stripped of heavy gear, moving swift and silent through ignitionless boots. They held plasma rifles, knives, pads, no room for failure. He led them down a long corridor. Panels beeped with access codes. Security cameras blinked red. Automated patrol drones hovered, scanning. He tapped one panel. It blinked green. They slipped inside. Behind a locked door, the vault hummed, a chamber of floating memory cores, replicators, drive matrices, millions of terabytes, all the Empire's hidden files. He planted a backup drive. His crew bypassed encryption and started the copy process 10 terabytes per second, said the tech specialist, voice tight. But we need cover, they'll sense it. He nodded. Ready, the disruptor charge. We blow main conduit. Once we're clear, a distant clang echoed. A patrol, or more likely a maintenance bot. Footsteps down the corridor. The hallway lights flipped to alert. Read the station. New time, he murmured. He took position, angled his rifle towards the vault door. The Robocop came first. Imperial maintenance. Drone metal limbs warring his shot. Blew its chassis into sparks. Alert sirens screamed. Data complete. The specialist announced, charge it. He said. They raced for the door. Panic echoed behind them. A squad of human Imperial guards appeared. 2 officers in crisp uniforms, rifles leveled. They didn't say a word. He didn't either. He opened fire. 4 shots, 2 down. A third dropped his weapon. By the time he fired again, the last one rolled into the corridors. Shadow behind him. Juno smashed the vault chamber's conduit. An explosion of lights and fire. The ship shook. Retreat. He ordered. They ran. Twisted. A weightless bolt hit the floor near his foot. Hot. The metal sheared away. He saw the docking corridor entrance. Ahead, smoke, red lights. Hull groaned. They ran in, slid onto the deck. Plating cloaks. Offline. Juno yelled, they'll scan us in. He roared, go, go, go. The ship gap closed. The docking clamps released. Engines burned white hot behind them. The archive station's corridor erupted. Fire and explosion. Pulse. They made it to space. They emerged again into vacuum. Alarms chirped. Shields damaged. Power down to 50%. But the data drive was intact, and the ship's cloak re-engaged. Automatic. He collapsed to a seat coughing status. Juno rattled out the updates. The ship could only hold 1 war jump. Before it crashed or fizzled, the station would be on alert. It would send everything they had. Next stop wasn't safe. He backed away. We broadcast now. She gulped across all frequencies. He stared at her. All of them. They went silent. Then he keyed the drive's port. The files streamed across their onboard transmitter, bouncing off satellites, relaying to outer systems. Screens lit up around the ship. First came day. The dumps, files, videos, names, trillions of records. Imperial X, purge of Earth. Biological warfare on colonies, clamp operations on Terra, India, etc. But then came the real message. He recorded himself, weaving across handheld footage, scratched metal. Behind him, sparks. Everywhere he spoke with fury, pain, defiance. People of the galaxy. They erased us. And lied. They killed Earth. And scrubbed the record. They burned our books, sterilized our genes, claimed no one survived. They wiped our history, and said Earth was a myth. But Earth mattered. Its sons matter. I am one of those sons. I carry its memory, and I bring its law. The feed reached every comm channel. His haphazard broadcast could hit mercenary bases, pirate dens, free fleets, subsystems allied with Empire, turned silent systems under its thumb, flickered with static, and then a message scrolled. We were eraser, but we are remembrance. He shut it off. Silence replaced broadcast. Chaos reactions. He asked. Juno's screen showed responses, a pulsating stream of day. Some were logging, some responding. One message stood out. Aram Coalition. Your signal resounds. We join you. The smile on his face was dangerous. Prepare for war. He stood, sawing anger into steel posture. We just flipped a spark. Now, let you make it wildfire. They couldn't celebrate. Not yet. The Empire would come hellbent for vengeance. Every fleet within 50 parsecs would burn. He pulled up the communication log. Nomad freighters, rebel cells, smuggler clans, corporate mercs, pirate knights. They all answered in hours. 10 ships, docked defectors. Joiners, hopefuls. They didn't ask about creed. They asked only how high. He looked at Juno. The crew. He nodded. A new fleet. The Ghost Fleet formed. It glowed under radar. Patchwork crews, jury-rigged vessels. But it moved with purpose. Moving starburst, rising flame. He turned to address them all via broadcast. Today we fought. The Empire's lie. Tomorrow we'll fight its ocean. And when we do, we're not just fighting for Earth. We fight for all worlds they buried. He paused. Silence. You think this is reckless? Fine, we move. When they sleep, strike. When they trust, we do not ask for their permission. We take it. He walked toward the viewport. Stars shimmered across hull plates. We're not in their records. He whispered, but they'll know us soon. We'll ride the storm, and when it ends, they'll have no ledger left. Empire response was swift. News feeds lit up. Imperial Supreme Court denounced them as terrorists. Courts called the Ghost Fleet is anarchist piracy. Newspapers called the Earth terror. Threatened peace. Allies of Empire tightened blockades, outlying systems activated trans walls, but under the surface doubt spread whispers outside of Imperial space. Could this be true? Could Earth have survived? Could we stand for a second chance? The Ghost Fleet cruised onward. Their first target was the convoy route that supplied the Empire's outer research satellite St. Seraphim vital to mapping unregistered zones. As they approached, holes cooled. They fell into formation behind comets and ruins. Sensors flagged 2 transport ships escorted by 4 corvettes. Unprotected plan, Juno asked. He gripped the rail. We hit the transports, but leave the escort. Let them carry our signal forward. They'll bring terror back. He looked over the assembled fleets. Kicker ships deploy harpoons. The harpoon pods flew outward, magnetic cables hooking into the transports, explosives behind them. The transports lurched. They shattered biosphere, breached cargo, spilled. No survivors. Council sent a coded message across public networks. Empire research destroyed systems are under threat. Join the breach. Then the corvettes realized, but by then, the harpoons detonated. Impulse ripping comms fire, ripping through hulls. The Ghost Fleet jumped out. No loss on their side. News feeds exploded. It identified attackers. Destroy Imperial Research Unit. Strike 4 corvettes down. Ghost Fleet strikes again. Galaxy on alert. The Empire fired back to no avail. Their war room buzzed. Strategy leaked. Fear surged, but far from Imperial hulls. The Ghost Fleet regrouped. He walked through the sick bay. 2 medics waited by a console. A dozen wounded, fragged via drugs. 1 pirate freighter captain shot in the shoulder. Asked him, "You killing Empire blood?" He shook his head. "Number, we're unburdening them. They'll live long enough to decide." He moved on. Down in the engineering bay, the 3 decoy drones were being refitted. Drones of hope and fear. They'd be used again. He found Juno at the navigation station. What's next? She tapped a new coordinate. Imperial Data Relay and Sector Alpha Sigma toolbar project. Behind them, crew strained to download more files. Transmitters queued against Imperial communication. Scramblers. He rubbed his eyes. Good, we strike there. And hit it hard. He stood tall. Then we send messages across every system that once thought Empire was inevitable. We show them prove names, crimes, resistance. Juno gave him a wrathful grin. And you know what we'll do if they don't answer. He tried not to smile. We erased their certainty deep under the metal floor plates. Somewhere someone carved their name with fire back into the Empire's soul. They were not in their records, but the galaxy would know them soon. They were Earth reborn. The glow of comm screens bathed the command deck in electric blue. As he watched streams of incoming messages, the relay station, Alpha Sigma, had fallen. Fleet after fleet around the perimeter had reported similar strikes, all with the same signature: brutal human-made precision. Psych reports from Imperials mentioned a cold, detached professionalism like ghosts. That was him and his crew. They weren't soldiers, they were punishing shadows. But as with any war, what fuels fury eventually ripples into compassion. Both sides. A message came through private channel. It was labeled with her name, Mara. It said, "Only they're coming, they have her." He leaned back, fists clenching. Mara, his second-in-command shield-bearer, the one who held him steady when nightmares came. She'd been missing since the archive raid. Left behind intentionally when the station imploded. He didn't like it, but he trusted her to get out. He trusted now someone had found her. He strode into the briefing room, rough metal underfoot, aroma of recycled air. His crew stood at attention, wary. The mood was tense. Rumors spread fast and tight. Knit units. He cut the silence with hard clarity. Mara's been captured. Location unknown, but we tracked a supply convoy. The same transport route we sabotaged. Likely taken when we struck. He paused, eyes sweeping the crew. They at least know we exist. They know names. They think they can hurt us with that. Juno stepped forward, voice low. We can rescue her. Raid the convoy's escort station. It's lightly defended. Could get her out. He nodded, tension easing into resolve. Then that's our strike point. Assemble a team, small group, surgical minimum force. A ripple passed through the room. Rescue missions were dangerous, but Mara was more than crew. She was the axis he turned on. They'd die for her. Undercover in the heart of an Imperial mining moon. They prepared. The station lay beneath layers of rock. Smoke stacks venting clouds of ash. Imperial security forces refused to enter its interior. They outsourced safety to contractors. That meant militiamen, mercs, not soldiers. Sloppy, unpredictable, perfect. He changed into non Regulation gear dusty worn baked by solar winds. He clipped Juno's blade into his belt, secured 2 plasma pistols. He looked at the extractor team. 6 eyes, ready, 6 hearts, steady code. He said Merc tag. Supply auditors routine check. They nodded trust, earned in whispers and scars. They traveled through mining tunnels bulk. Heads grinding pistons. The convoy depot was an open shed of freighters and cargo containers. The patrols were light security. Sporadic, a central command dome came into view, tinted black. He signaled the group. They split 2 to breach the orphan cell block, 2 to disable external guards, and Juno to plant distractor. Charges. He stayed with the cell team. They cut through a service hatch. Inside, lighting flickered weakly. Cold vents hissed. Security cameras blinked. Keep it quiet, he whispered. They moved past sealed doors inside a holding bay. The lock swiveled. Guards inside. 2 mercenaries. Perfect. He aimed. Shot. Silence stamped in the guards. Hit the floor. No alarms triggered. Shields still unbroken. The blast door ahead hissed open, revealing a line of cells. He dropped one knee, scanning their Mara shackled head, slumped unconscious. His throat tightened. He hurried forward. 1 guard slouched against the wall, dead crushed, but holding a key card. He took it, fingers shaking. He pressed it to the cell lock. The mechanism claked. The cell door slid open with a choked hiss. She woke as he knelt beside her, her eyes opened, clouded with pain. He offered his hand. She bit her lip, wincing. Don't, Jay. Not yet. He ignored her protest, unlocked the cuffs carefully. He lifted her to standing position. She leaned on him. You made it out, he asked softly. She nodded. Planted sensor on convoy. Had to meet someone. He moved in Imperial. He pulled a gun. His jaw tensed. I knocked him off my suit. Lost consciousness. When I woke, I was here. He brushed ash from her hair. You're safe. Now they had to move fast. The extractor sop. Juno's charges had started a small fire in the fuel cluster. Alarms shrieked across the depot. That was their window. He told the team to lead her out. He stayed behind to cover rear. It's fine, she whispered, voice ragged. Just promise me we get a ship. He nodded, scanning through smoke and alarms, through long corridors. Into open hangar. The team cleared a partially built freighter. She could limp aboard. He heard shouting behind him. Then footsteps. He spun. A merc. Lieutenant Pistoltrid. He fired. The lieutenant fell, but the sound rang. Other merc appeared in the hangar. 5 of them, rifles raised. He raised his when they saw her strapped in the freight's cradle. We're leaving, he said, voice cold and clear. They hesitated, then charged. He shot 1 at the threshold, took a plasma bolt to his shoulder, stung like fire. He fired back. 2 down, the rest retreated, 3 running for cover. Mara fired a pistol from doorway. The 3rd MC dropped blank, stunned in midstep. But the freight's launch bay door was closing. She scrambled inside as he fired an EMP grenade, shorting the courtyard lights, shredding optics. He bolted forward, breached a bulkhead into docking bay, vanishing. As the freighter doors sealed, he heard the ship engine ignite just as a merc bolt slammed into his back, knocking him off his feet. Blackness stretched out. When he woke, he was strapped to a medical bunk. Alarms chimed quietly overhead. His shirt was cut open. Juno sat in fast scrub uniform beside him, wiping his brow. She met his stare. You alive, he wheezed. I knew I'd come back, she smiled, and something like relief flickered in her eyes. How's Mara? Juno slid a pad to him. It showed her vitals and scans. Bruised D. Hydrated, still recovering, but alive. He closed his eyes. Relief washed through him. 6 hours later, he found them both in ship's main hold. Mara leaned against a crate, weak but standing. He walked to her. Why did you tell me? He asked softly. She swallowed. Men here, they weren't mercenaries, Imperial Marines, not contractors. She held his gaze, raw truth between them. His heart stuttered. So they knew you were Earthborn, knew who you were. She nodded. When I planted the sensor, one recognized me, a childhood face before Earth died. He betrayed me, tracked my steps. He closed his eyes. Because he knew that name, he always protected her. But someone had slipped through. He asked, voice rough, how many know? She swallowed. The supply officers, 2 convoy commander, 4 more. He let that sit cold and bitter. Then we have leak. He said we wind them out, and that lieutenant, he's still alive on that moon. He spat. She looked away. I killed him. He sank onto a crate. Good. He looked up, but the rest over the next hours they fortified. He walked the corridors with Juno, They whispered, plans contain the leak stage, an ambush, I can't risk exposure. He said, we strike here, they'll be ready. She tapped a nav screen. She pointed, we bait them, use the leak, spread word that Earth fleet's here ready to negotiate. Stationing help in neutral space, let them come. He stared in a trap. Yes, we take out their trackers, get day. A plus morale blow. He nodded, they think Terra is myth. We give them this. He nodded at her. They'll know we bite. That night, he found himself staring at an old Earth relic, a metal disc, engraved with a phoenix passed to him by Mara years ago, Earth symbol mortally. Bandy pulled it free. He held it, felt weight, warmth. He ran fingertips over the faded lines. He whispered, you gave me purpose. He locked eyes to darkness of space ahead, for that you die in comfort. He slid it away, memory stowed a week later. They left the mining moon behind them. The convoy station was offline, abandoned, but they left a small team in stealth mode. He met them in war room, 10 volunteers, half soldiers, half X. Told them it was a bait mission, swipe, a convoy full of trackers day, a convoy logs, then feed them to ambush. They nodded. He looked at Mara. She wore Scar's hospital gown. She leveled pistol at console. I'm with you. He nodded, heart lifting at convoy meet location. He shut systems, ship drifted in asteroid shadows. The convoy came 4 freighters with 2 corvettes escort. They waved the green emissary lights. He watched long-range cams. When they closed enough, he hit audio. This Carl's auditor team, he said in gravel request. Docking inspector on board. The lead corvette pinged request denied, switch to radio. Telemetry, warship, clear sight. It fired signal to freighter dock ready. The freighters docked. He cut the feed within seconds. The ship unleashed MP pulse, disabling escorts tracking team. Launched pods into Freyr's hacked systems. Downloaded logs. Corvettes scrambled back. He lit ion beams to hold the 2 down, 1 fled, 1 shattered, but self-destruct didn't go bay mode. He and Mara raced to intercept escape. Pod Mara fired, console override. She took the pod. They resumed fire as they slipped away. 3 trackers and data banks on board. They returned triumphant. They fed trackers to interrogation. Mercers screamed and spilled data on Imperial grid positions. He had names, coordinates, mission logs. Once Pandora's box open. But at midnight, he found Mara crying in the small chapel room. An aisle inside converted cargo, hold old Earth tradition. Wood slats, moonlight pane. He sat beside her. You good? He asked. She wiped tears. I killed my brother. He blinked. She whispered. He saw me, echoed me, recognized Earth blood in my voice. He tried to help. Empire wanted me. He gave his life to let me escape. She looked up. He was my brother, actually. Another breath. I used him. He didn't say a word. She continued. I've watched every live feed. Brother turned traitor becomes one who saves me. I lied to get his help. He was silent. She held his hand. I couldn't let you die. He looked away, voice quiet. We build on lies. Soon it becomes hate. She cried harder. He pulled her close. Your forgiveness, maybe that's enough. She cried into his armor. He kept vigil outside ships, moved silently sectors, toggled new grid lines. The leak closed in, but trackers fleeing. He plotted next move, hit 3 key relay stations, Empire fleets, repositioning to hunt Mara. But his mind returned to Mara's brother. He put his hand on the phoenix relic, locked away, paper thin tears. He vowed quietly, we won't sacrifice blood for the cause, never again. Weeks passed, filling with strikes. Relay station. Alpha Gamma fell. Another convoy lost. Empire fleets bleeding. They broadcasted tracker day. Alive names, faces, operators, ship IDs, corrupt orders. It played across pirate nets, rebel hotlines, smuggler tracks. Support surged. And then Titan's tears. Wealthy neutral system declared support. Secretary General of its council stepped up. The ghost fleet speaks truth. We stand with terror. It was war through battles and betrayals. One constant remained. The man who wasn't in records now bled with everything. He was rage, guilt, love. The flame carved into his soul. Earth's memory burned with each life. But when one of his own died, brother calm, at only daughter of militia, he realized revolution could devour everything he loved. In the fading glow of the command deck, he stood beside Juno. Tomorrow, biggest strike, yet Imperial core relay. It'll shatter info network. She nodded. He placed hand on her shoulder. You ready? She looked at him, aware always. He inhaled. Then it begins. They assembled in the dim chaos of the war room just before dawn. The ghost fleet formed a crescent around the Imperial core relay, a hulking structure of conduits day. To uplinks and defense turrets, it connected every Empire-controlled system. Sever it, and Imperial authority would unravel in that quadrant. He watched the hologram of the station rotate. Scores of Imperial frigates loitered near, shielded by cruiser escorts. A frontal strike will kill us. Juno said, voice flat, we need diversion. He tapped coordinates. We'll hit in 3 waves. First send our drone swarm to neutralize turrets. Then Mara's team breaches the relay itself. Last we strike the frigates, disable, take their logs, then withdraw. They all knew the risk. If Mara fell again, the revolution would lose its soul. If he fell, it would shatter hold formation. He said, ready status. They moved in silence. Every captain, every gunner focused. He felt the weight on his shoulders, the burden of every rebel pirate merc, who now believed this mission could topple a star-spanning dictatorship. The drones launched as they swept in from slip space. Thousands of little scouts zipped outward, seeking weapon nests and turret arrays. Explosions flashed like distant fireworks. Shields on the relay dropped to amber. Comfort came in fleeting pulses. Ion blasts seared space, but the fleet danced around them, shields deflecting shards of plasmatic flak. Then Juno's voice crackled through Alpha turret grid. Is down. Beta is hot, but falling. He allowed himself a grim smile. Wave 2. He breathed. They docked with the station using stolen transponder codes. The hangar door opened. Mara led the strike team. 8 warriors hardened by lost spite survival. They stepped into stale air atmosphere. Recycled 3 times over, they sprinted down corridors. Alarms started. Low building 2. Screech's guards clustered, rifles raised. Mara and her group flattened them with precision. No mercy, no pause. They forced open the relay core chamber. A vaulted hall of crystalline conduits and data flow columns. Massive oil glass drive banks pulsed with Imperial encryption. They started slicing main feed lines. Copy logs. Mara snapped into comms 2 minutes before total grid fails outside. Muffled detonations rocked the station. He imagined drones colliding with turrets. Frigate escorts firing blindly. The frigates attacked. Ion beams grazed hull as small ships wove through their ranks. Nothing major. He paced on the command deck, fists clenched, mind racing between hope and dread. And then the alert. Mara team under fire. On my mark. He told his crew. Wave 3 inbound in T-30 seconds. He drilled into sensors. He saw chaos guards firing into corridors. Blasts ripping concrete. The relay conduit. They were slicing, lit up in sparks. Electrical arches throwing half the chamber dark. 30 plasma bolts. Drones, gunships, everything converged. Wave 3 swept into the station entrance. He fought in his chair, heart pounding. He watched Mara's path in live feed. A red corridor, sparks, smoke guards falling back under fleet fire. 20 seconds. He saw her miracle moment. A shot, a fall, a stagger. Medic on me, he barked. But she held her pistol, bleeding from her shoulder, fire in her eyes. She shot a final override panel. The relay convulsed screams of overloading energy as central cores overloaded. Copy logs. She hissed. Data packets streamed outward, filled with digitized evidence of Imperial atrocities. Extract. He roared. She fired 3 grenades. Walls collapsed behind her. Then she tumbled through doors into smoke. They locked down the airlock. He exhaled the breath he hadn't realized he held on deck. The fleet pulled back as frigates closed in. Plug the hole. They're coming for us. He said, voice steady. Juno, cut in. Drones are losing comms. Fighters inbound. He nodded grimly. Punch out the core, then light black box jump. They watched as the station convulsed, systems collapsing, shields flickering red, then black like a wounded beast. Time to go. He said. They boarded at the hangar. Mara nearly fell, but was caught. He braced her strong. He said, going home, promise me. She rasped. He asked what. She shook her head. Nothing. He pressed a hand onto her shoulder. Shut it. Captain Slip ripped them away. They dropped deep in neutral space. Sensors tracked emissions flying out of the station. A logs manifesto, packets, files meant for the free fleets. He exhaled again. A safe zone. He said, send logs to freighter comm nets. Down corridor he found Mara slumped. She opened her eyes. Is it done? He nodded. She closed her eyes again. They slept, or tried to. There was no rest. They waited as minutes passed like hours. Then Juno's voice came in. Emissaries responding. Titan's tears is broadcasting. Martel packed, deploying ships to help. More states aligning. He's breathed in. They see it. Tell them. She whispered what. Tell them Earth was right. He closed his face signal, picked up Imperial Response Station, destroyed investigating suspected sabotage by unidentified fleet, full military response declared east side, but they can't walk it. Back he looked across his crew exhausted, but alive, hearts pledged. He walked to Mara's side. We did it, she whispered. And yet I know he pulled her close. They spent the next day sending files to every free Warren pirate, den rebel cell, evidence of genocide exterminations, historical fabrications. Broadcasts flooded the quadrant. His heart felt both hope and dread. This was only the beginning. When the final file sent, he walked to the command deck, looked at the hollow of the destroyed relay. He kept to those watching. They erased us. But we rose, we risked everything so no system ever looks other way. Let this ember burn. He paused. We are Earth reborn under the frozen stars. He stood with Mara and Juno, watching systems light up with alien names cheering the breach. He closed his eyes, knowing tomorrow would bring reprisals, but tonight, they struck. Shared blood, shared scars, a new war begun. The ghost fleet stood on the edge of history, and he whispered to himself, I'm not in your records, but I'm in your future. The aftermath of the relay strike rippled like shock waves. His comlink buzzed with reports as the coalition built around them began to fracture under pressure. Systems that cheered yesterday now whispered fear. They were dealing in truths the Empire wanted erased, and now the Empire was showing it. Teeth. He sat in the command deck's center chair, hollow globe of rebel-aligned territories, shimmering in red and gold outside the ghost fleet, drifted silent, but armed, waiting on his orders and prayers beneath the glow of hollows. Juno entered, face drawn. Emissaries from Titan's tiers want renegotiate demand. We focus attacks on Empire supply routes, not strategic structures. He looked up. At what cost? They'll pull out. If we don't comply, their fleet's arrival hinged on promises, operational priorities. They have influence. He ground his teeth. They gave us fighters. We didn't ask them to rewrite our mission. We had Empire supply relay research their day. The correction gave them the leverage. Juno nodded. So they hold it. They want us to accept constraints. And if we comply, he asked. She sighed. We lose momentum, risk civilian tragedies. He closed his eyes. Freedom isn't polite. Juno placed a hand on his shoulder. There's more. The Empire is mobilizing the Third Dominion warships, brutal cleansers, hundreds of vessels converging. He let that land, then we escalate. He convened the captains in main briefing, faces lit by hollow screen, showing converging Empire fleets. We have leveraged the bridge system. The Rift Gate chain near Pharaoh's Station is their fastest rain gesture to deploy forces. If we hit one node, we slow them weeks. A murmur rose. If we do that, Juno added, Titan's tiers will withdraw. They consider it dose too aggressive. He cut in. But if we let Empire fleet slide through Titan's tiers, lose his faith, and new systems desert us, we could collapse in weeks. Casualties. One captain asked. High, he said, but doable. We'll use drone swarms and precision sabotage. Use Mara's surgical teams. Let us carry the strike quietly. Then we broadcast why it was necessary. Another captain frowned. Asked to fight two battles, Empire and our own allies. He rammed a fist on the armrest. I asked them to be free back in private. He found Juno pacing. We have to prepare Mara. She said quietly, if you do this gate strike, she'll go in. That route means her team, and that station's people's HQ will have to sack. Pharaohs. He stared. She volunteered because she believes, but this mission could break her. She paused. She's already lost so much. He exhaled hard. Freedom always comes with pain. She looked away. Then we throttled back. He shook his head. We pushed forward. 3 hours later, they launched. The fleet moved. Ominous crescent of hybrid freighters, gunships, covert T-ramblers. They slipped through corridor. A plan on track to Pharaoh's Station, blazed with civilian craft extraction modules, hub for refugees escaping Empire territory. The Rift Gate device hovered near by a ringed mass of corrosive energy. Humming, his gut clenched, but he held tight. He sent Mara and her team in first, cloaked stealth hover shuttles wide enough for 4. Their task: plant conduit disruptors on the Rift Gate's stabilizer shafts. Do it quickly, silently, invisible to shields. His eyes followed the blinded feed. As the first shuttle docked, Mara stepped out. She moved like a ghost, snapping cables, carving ports, tapping overrides. Then alarms ripped. Imperial recon drones emerged. Automated guns tracked the station. He cursed loudly. Drones out and down. He ordered gunships launched, moving in hot beams. Flared drones swung Deep suddenly, the feed went red as Mara's shuttle rocked. Sir Mara hit. Juno yelled. He froze. Time stopped. Mara's voice crackled. Stabilizers jammed. Need evacuation. The feed cut. Silence gripped him. Every captain waiting. Options, someone asked. He looked up. Drone strike on the station. Rapid. If we kill the gate operator servers, gate collapses. The swing throttled. Station casualties high. They all looked down. Some nodded. He took a breath. Do it. They unleashed drone swarms, hundreds of kamikaze bots swarming toward the station's ring. Plasma drones erupted on contact, and the rift gate's ring. Fractured lights, dimmed arcs flickered. The station convulsed inside. Alarmed, screamed. Mara's team sprinted back. 3 made it. 1 stayed behind. Station debris cut off. Mara staggered into the shuttle, a lone lifted limp figure. Third operator, gravely hurt, strapped him. In she slammed. The hatch closed. He watched her pale face. She dialed the exit feed gate. Disabled casualties. Many evac triggered. Her eyes flicked. He gave the code. The shuttle exploded out. Cyclones hurled from the station. Defenders hunting them. His fleet returned fire for cover. The shuttle slipped to safety inside. Mara sat, bloodied, shaking. The operator she rescued was alive, but critical. He ran to them. Aboard command ship. She collapsed when he reached. He supported her. You saved him. He asked. She nodded. Tears streamed. He begged. I honored it. He didn't comfort. He just steadied her against the hull. He looked at the op, barely breathing. Medic Juno was already there, calm, but her eyes were wet inside. Medbed heart monitor beeped slower than steadied. He let out breath. They'd hit the rift gate. The Empire's warships would take days to reroute supplies. Rerouted fleets slowed, but the cost was sharp. 316 civilian casualties. Dozens of refugee vessels destroyed. Pharaoh Station, life path. Shattered Titans. Tyr's emissary demanded they cease such attacks or withdraw. The coalition fractured in the war room. The hollow map flickered. Allied border zones shrank. Systems, once in gold flag markers, switching. Gray tensions boiled. One captain slammed his fist. What's done is done. You pulled the trigger on a civilian hub. He stood up. No lying, no victimization. The gate needed. Disabled. Less casualties over all than losing entire systems. The captain spat. You lost innocent lives. You'll lose to another. Looked him. Orders. He rose. We regroup. We focus next on Empire shipyards, but no more civilian targets. He looked at Mara, kneeling outside the room. Ever Juno exhaled. She'll slip. Soon. He nodded. That night he found Mara in the ship's shrine room, empty hold fashioned into sobering memorial of fallen crew, and civilians. Dust mows danced in reactor hum. A single name blinked. Feroz. He approached. She stared at the world, glass eyes hollow. You saved someone, he said softly. She didn't respond. He took her hand. And we hurt innocence. We make tremendous choices, no glory, and miscalculations. She turned. Tears streaked. Steel Eye. I killed kids. He drew her close. You killed no one. We did together in war. Every bullet asks which soul pays. She shook. I can't stop hearing them. He wiped her tears. Then we start earning forgiveness with every life we protect. Later in silence, he placed the phoenix disc in her palm. We rebuild. From ashes by dawn, Titans. Tears had officially withdrawn support. A fleet already warped toward Ghost Fleet, staging zone. Unaligned path. Their numbers dropped. Recruitment slowed. Supplies tightened. The full weight of revolution settled on to cold shoulders at briefing. He faced the remaining captains. We lost allies, he said, but we still stand, maybe stronger for it. A murmur of assent. We strike next on Majorca shipyards. No civilians, no refugee zones, pure Empire military infrastructure. Heads nodded. I'm calling volunteers for ground infiltration. Mara's team will lead hostage rescue. You intel. Steel. Silence sank. Then Juno spoke. We go. He looked at Mara, her eyes steady now. Resolve sharpened. In the following hours they prepared ramming pods, stealth teams, diversion, drones. No civilian gear, only combat. He wandered out to deck viewport, looking for a sign. Instead he found Juno. She joined him side by side. Farah's hit us hard, she said quietly. He nodded. People will understand. She turned to him. Will you? He exhaled. I hope so. A long moment passed. She put hand on his arm. Through the hard days you made us choose humanity. He met her gaze. That's why we fight that night. The fleet war galaxed into blackout mode. Rebels and mercs loaded pods. Mara's surgical team drilled final intel drops. He watched them. In silence he whispered, for them, for Pharaohs, for Earth. Then he walked away to ready the final push. The war room hummed under red light restraints around him. Captains and officers watched a live feed of the Majorca shipyards, an enormous complex built into an asteroid rings of welding bays, assembly docks and machinery designed to churn out cruisers and destroyers by the hour. He studied the lay. Out behind those walls lay vast stockpiles of engines, weapons, modules, and data cores destroy the yards, and the Empire's replenishment would stall indefinitely. Their target was clear sabotage core. Production lines and steel shipyard schematics. Opposition would be brutal empires, elite marine detachments, automated turrets, anti-intrusion grid, and possibly local militia that still saw ghost ships in the skies. He let the threat hang silence. Thick strike elements. Ready, Juno announced. Mara stepped forward. Steady. Faced Team Shadow stands ready. Ground infiltration in T-30 minutes will crack the main server. Deploy quant EM mines and exit through docking cores. He looked at her. Pride and tension intertwined. She had carried Ferris's ghosts. Now she carried the hopes for even bigger victory. Support fleet will strike the asteroid's ring ports at 0:01 hours. He continued. It's a simultaneous sunburst, one strike above, one below. They all nodded. Any concerns? He asked coldly. A captain stood, voice tight. Haven't we overextended with Titan's tears, gone numbers thin? If the Empire strikes back on... Massey cut him off. We don't wait for them. We strike first. Sheathing his frustration, he tapped the console. All ships maintain jump nets on my mark. 30 minutes later, the Shadow team boarded their stealth pods and launched. The planet's rings blazed orange, rolling clouds of slag and molten ore. Their pods slipped among debris, silent, invisible, no signatures inside. Mara led the squad. Jax, heavy weapons, Ellen, tech loop specialist, Ronan, medic, talk, and Sela, demolitions experts, and a captain of pirates, Valak, placeholder for smuggled knowledge of yard lay. Out they reached a service corridor, burrowed into the rock. Automated turrets scanned the path. They crouched behind crates. Jax, suppress external grid. Ellen opened the server door remotely. She whispered. Jax rattled fire at turret. Sensors, optical lenses shattered. Cameras dropped offline. Ellen's date pad glowed. Access codes hacked. The door clicked open. Steam hissed inside the server room. Conduits snaked over head. Microcom put stacks. Thrummed. Valak connected his rig. Mining negatives got schematics. Uploading. Now, he whispered. Ronan crouched by crates of ordnance. Silver mines compressed with quantum charges. Ellen interrupted. Interceptor squad inbound. 2 hostiles, armor class terrain. Mara nodded. Valak, keep uploading. Jax, set mines. Everyone else hold positions. 2 Marines burst in shields, shimmering. Jax raised his arms, fired heavy slug. One dropped, the other spun, dropped weapon, and fled. Alarm siren screamed. Valak spat, oath soft timed. Exit in 9 minutes. Mara scanned eggs. It routes. Deploy mines on corridor. Heavy charges on evac sink. Detonation. They worked fast. Talk and Sela laying the mines. Jax setting over. Watch. Ellen monitoring uploads. Suddenly the lights blinked. Station-wide shift. They were locked in. Grating thrum of lockdown doors. Mara swore. Imperial lockdown protocol. All eggs. It hatches. Closing. Ellen tapped pad. Override failing. We need to manually clear shutters from consoles upstairs. Mara barked. 2 go up. Jax and Ronan, Thriste, Valak, talk, Sela, and Algard. Jax nodded on it. They split outside. Alarms echoed through small panels. Mara watched corridor shutter grind shut. She pulled her pistol, gripped talk for backup. As they raced to flank the door down below, Jax and Ronan fought. Rushing guards knocked them down with suppressive fire and stun bolts. 7 guards contained. Casualties minimal, but alarm broadcasts spread upstairs. Jax pounded on the metal hatch. Door won't yield. He kicked it, splintered. They entered. High ceiling shaft, piping over, head heat reel. Ronan struggling. I'm hit. Shoulder pressure's gone. Holy. Jax fired support laser at incoming guards. Ronan slumped. Wounded. Jax dragged him back. Live. Damn it. They reached the access annex. Manual lever mounts. Jax yanked. Door groaned. Open. Pressure hissed. Corridor once shuttered opened. Alarm. Klaxon roared. They relayed to Mara. Group below. She squeezed trigger at incoming. Patrol bots. The mines were armed. Valak grabbed upload disk. We need of. Act now. Mara signaled to T. Took. He pressed detonate. Corridor doorway. Blue steel shards. Debris. A fireball raced down corridor, rebutting guards and shutter debris. Both ways. Exit open. She grabbed the upload drive. Moving out, she ordered. They escaped into hangar. As support fleet blasted open structure walls, rockets flared. Plasma cannons tore. Docking arms. Smoke and decking rubble filled the chamber. He was watching from the command ships. Screen overlay, teams redeploy, he keyed comms, all fleet engage escorts, suppress, secondary turrets, keep pods, safe gunships, strafed, docking ports cruisers, fired energy nets to cut off Empire. Response, waves soon enough Shadow Team boarded extraction pod and rocketed away. He exhaled after they fully cleared the danger zone. Mara. She responded from Privaticom, package, secured ground, cleared en route to safe zone. Initial casualties, 3 including Ronan, but we made it. His relief was immediate. Bring him here, I'll see to him. Hours later, they regrouped. Upload had succeeded. Millions of shipyard blueprints. INAV cores, construction logs of new battle cruiser class, valuable intel proof of escalating production, genocide class, kinetic weapons, shafting. They transmitted it instantly. Outwards, multiple coalition partners logged in. Docking offers came, but so did conflict. Titan's tears. Diplomat-initiated ceasefire vote debates flared. Some systems argued we saved them, but they chose bomb sweet civilian havens. They branded tactical strikes as terror. He listened as system after system debated trust, morality, pragmatism. He thought of Pharaoh, the guilt, the weight of command, and realized freedom always demanded sacrifice. Broadcasting. Outward, he said softly, we stand or fall on truth. We expose corruption. We offer paths forward. But we also hold the line. We won't become nightmare. We fight it. Cut through static control channels. It landed heavy. He found Juno and Mara on the launch deck. As of AC pods prepared for long jumps, Juno turned. Debate tight alliance, possibly fractures. He nodded. They'll follow the day. The truth prevails. Mara's face shone tiredly, her bloody clothes marked with scorch and smoke. He stepped close. She met his gaze. We did it, she said. He pulled her into embrace. Captain, soldier, survivor, all held past future choice. I couldn't do this without you, she whispered. You didn't ask me to. He let go. He looked out as if AC pods launched that night. They gathered in the chapel, hold soft lighting. Names of fallen flickered. Pharaoh's victims, Ron, and others. He stood and addressed them. Crew captains, support leaders. We struck a blow to their capacity to wage war. We exposed truth, but we also lost ourselves in tactics that haunt. He paused, voice rough. Tonight, we honor our losses, honor Pharaoh's, honor Ron, and honor those we promised not to sacrifice. They bowed heads. He continued, tomorrow, we will push forward Empire shipyards. Next, then core fleets will take no civilian lives without absolute necessity. Will act with purpose, not vengeance. Juno placed a hand on his shoulder. Mara, eyes closed, nodded. After service, he left the chapel. The empty corridor stretched under light. He walked alone to the Phoenix disc box, slid onto the metal surface. He turned it over in his fingers. He whispered, the silent ship we rebuild from ashes. This ember still burns. He looked out viewport to the star-strewn belt. The fleet shadows curled, unknown, unregistered, but undeniably present. Their path ahead was brutal. Betrayal, war, loss loomed, but they were not that which they fought. They were Earth reborn. Hangar Bay thrummed as the fleet assembled. Before the void ahead lay the Empire's siege. I'm shipyard, carved into a small moon, orbiting a gas giant, its industrial sprawl bristling with unfinished crew-class warships and armored carriers. This was the culmination, their last strike, to fracture Empire's war machine and reveal its rot to every world. Everywhere he walked the platform alongside his captains Mara, Juno, Valak, and the remaining Shadow operatives. Casualties lined the bay, scars and uniforms, body armor, chipped, grief in unspoken glances. Everyone felt the weight of what had come before. Pharaoh's Morka allies lost, lines drawn in cosmic dust. The plan was bold: launch a surprise raid from multiple vectors. Cloaked gunships would seed ion nets to jam the orbital girdle. Drone swarms would paralyze defense nodes. Shadow team would infiltrate surface, hub open hangar doors, and sabotage. The Starship Corps' heavy frig would deliver the final blow, all while the extracted intelligence of the shipyard's inner council, manifestos, genocide protocols, worked AI cores was streamed live to every free fleet and out of Empire system. This mission, final reckoning, they launched in silence. Crescent of gunships slipped through ion belts. Window of slip space ruptured, cloaked to avoid patrol scans. He guided the fleet anchor ship, broadcasting only to his inner circle seconds before impact. He keyed the feed. Today we bring dark truth into light. We reveal not just what the Empire builds, they build annihilation. We bring them down so no fleet is ever raised on lies again. He ended feed fragments of space, shattered as gunship volleys lit ablaze defense nodes screamed, but were cut by ion nets, glazed shields, flickering confused drone swarms, ascended chewing wires, and sensors alarms cut through the shipyard complex like forced awakenings. Shadow Team Doe would no longer. Mara led the X-Fill pod through cover fire, landing near the central operations spire. They slithered into service tunnels toward the control center. Explosive charges had already severed hangar door relays. It would open within minutes, enough for their squad and freedom fighters aboard to walk in and detonate starship cores below. Gunships engaged gun platforms, heavy ships pummeled orbital ring emitters, frigates spiraled with plasma arcs in the control hub. Mara hauled cables, jammed node drives, and began live upload. Multiple freighter uplinks orbiting out of range. Day of flooded grim videos of colony scorings, logs of genetic purges. Child programmed comm. Bat-Yoon, it's the crowd watching from pirate dens to neutral council terminals. Erupted. The Empire could no longer bury its guilt, but then hands grabbed her. Two armored strike Marines, elite class. She hadn't anticipated ground patrols here. They cornered her. Stunned pistol at first shot she fired, but was overwhelmed. Guards cuffed her to a terminal console. Alerts spread like wildfire above the fleet. Paused on monitors. Mara's feed flickered. Live guards dragging her. Silhouetted by massive server crystals, she spat curse. She slashed a code module with a hidden knife stream. Cuddy clenched his fist. That flicker meant she was a prisoner within their operation. He took control. Abort. Hangar strike. Valak protested. She's inside. We can't pull now. He pressed on. Then open another front. He keyed missile stream to orbit. Frag heavies to strike perimeter defenses. And we negotiate on the feed. We extract her, or we pull her from our records. The world's watching. Live or die by their eyes. He set live broadcast on station feed. Hulking war machines. Commander activated. Podium. Massive emblem. Imperial Hydra. Residents of the quadrant. He began. Voice cold and amplified. Pirates and terrorists have attacked. They have captured our resources, planted false protocols, and threatened planetary order. We are acting now. Surrender. Release your hostage, or we execute her. Mara stood rigid behind the commander. Gagged posture. Defiant. A live feed icon pulsed red before millions of monitors. He watched. Jaw set. The fleet held linear lines. Aimed. He hit. Counter signal. Citizens of the galaxy. His voice cut across the Imperial feed. What you're watching is your truth. The Empire hides behind propaganda while burning your worlds below. They threaten Captain Mara, the woman who brought this data to you. Ask yourselves, do you trust them or us? We offer proof. We offer accountability. Their weapon is lies. We bring evidence. He opened feed to show proof. Shipyard data, videos, files, icons popped on screen. Ransacking colonies, eraser logs, world genocide slides. No fortress could block this. He let it sink. The commander barked orders, but hesitation rippled across his shoulder. Fear of broadcasted truth. Back on ship deck, Juno watched for Mara's feed count. Pirate dens, council system. Neutral freighters all toggling streams. Votes, petitions to intervene. Emergency fleet offers poured in, but Imperial lockdown held surface. He turned to Valak. Deploy HVT Resk. You units siloed under gunships, camouflaged boarding pods. Ready. Valak flashed a grin. He remained a scoundrel, but one refined under purpose. On it. Moments later, boarding pods launched into blitz formation, docking thrusters stabbing at station hull. He kept feed live. All hell broke loose in tight corridors, heavy muzzle fire grenades flashing across panels. Marines scrambling under smoke. Shadow Team rejoined boarding squad. They killed guards. Silent fought quick. His stomach knotted as he watched Mara thrown into a holding cell. She spat blood. They dragged her to core door. Vent. The boarding squads blasted panels. Opened hatch. Mara sagged against the wall. Once freed, she locked eyes with Juno and him on live screen. He reached toward the viewport, as if to pull her through. She gave a slow nod. Will hold. She whispered, finish it. Valak detonated the dock. Sabat charges. Hangar doors blew open like shutters. Lamps fell. Undefended hull sections exposed. A chain reaction triggered. Detonators preset. Inside the shipyard, ionized core melts. Reactors go supercritical. Cascades into warship cradles. Firestorms erupted. The boarding squads backed out. Mara stumbled but held herself. 3 minutes later, they stood back on command ship deck. Juno, catching her behind them, the hangar's reflections flickered through viewport fire, consuming hull, starship cradles, twisted assembly arms, fallen like dead giants. His voice trembled. You did it. She closed her eyes, blood, and stood across her face, smile of defiance. They watched broadcast viewers, council terminals, lit blue councils voted to intervene, charity measures, flagged pirate dens mourned, and rallied systems began repelling imperial trade lanes on principal diplomatic blockades. Activated, the Empire found itself besieged on wave after wave of public outrage. The commander on screen looked petrified, his Hydra emblem blurred behind him. He leaned forward, voice cold but resolute to those still listening. I'm not in your records, but I'm in your future, our future. We don't just tear down lies, we rebuild from ashes. You have a choice, join us or remember us. He cut feed. Silence wrapped the war room. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, Juno spoke. We hold wait. He nodded beside him. Mara sank into a chair, bloodied but unbroken. He turned to remaining captains. We've made our stand. Allies will return, systems will flock, but we give no quarter, no mercy. We wake a galaxy, a ripple of ascent. Later, he found Mara on launch deck, watching the burning yards drifting in orbit. She leaned her head on his shoulder. He asked nothing. She spoke softly. We did something final. He closed his eyes, pressed her hand together. They watched Empire scorch in the sky. A beautiful, terrible sunrise. Epilogue. Minutes later, he stood by the Phoenix disk, placing it on the pedestal. He whispered, Earth reborn. A new feed lit aboard the flagship, dozens of allied ships entering the vicinity. Titans, Tiers, reinstating Martel, packed Aram coalition, independent militias, whole fleets. Others had rallied. They aligned behind the Ghost Fleet. He exhaled, looked to the stars, ready for Phase 2. Juno asked softly. He nodded. A weight lifted, another pressed on shoulders, but somewhere in the burning orbit of that yard, something seed-like flickered hope, and thus ends the saga of the Ghost Fleet, crucible, rebirth from extinction, defiance against tyranny. Brothers and sisters, forged in sacrifice. They remain unregistered, but not unseen. Earth's fire lit a galaxy.